And we're here with Marina Maher. Marina, what is up?
How are we doing? Thanks for having me on.
Of course, I'm doing great, but you have you dropped maybe the biggest news of the Bruins season last week. You are having a baby. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Second of all, are you naming it Brad, Patrice, or Pasta? What's the deal there?
Probably, none of the above. We haven't found out the gender yet. We do that this week, so maybe that'll sway, that opinion, but, uh,
Patrice is both. Patrice could be
Patrice,
both.
my husband said Patrice could be both. Maybe a middle name we'll throw in there. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I've known for a while, probably end of November, so I've been holding a secret, and then I was just kinda
Ooh.
bored, and I was like, "Alright, let's just tell the world. Like, let's just get it over with," and, a lot of congratulations. So a lot of tweets to go through, a lot of inbox to go through, a lot of texts to go through, but we couldn't be happier. And it's crazy. Like I never imagined this for me. And I joked to my husband, I was like, all right, well, I can drink some apple juice or something out of the Stanley Cup come June. So
Yeah, apple juice instead. But yes, congratulations. That's so awesome. I can't give you any insight. I cannot give you any insight onto having a kid.
sorry, my cat
We want
just fell off it was like a little
cats.
window perch and just fell.
Okay, we're just gonna keep going. I love that. But I can't give you any insight into having a kid because I'm basically still a kid. I'm 22. But that is really awesome. I congratulations to you guys. That is so freaking cool.
Thank
And I have no doubts that you're going to be a tremendous mother and grow your kid up a Bruins fan, which is like that's the
oh,
biggest thing, right? You have I don't know if your
no
husband
doubt.
is a Bruins fan as well, but I would imagine he must be.
Oh, yes.
Um,
We
so
he, 8 years ago, he was a Rangers fan. We have since converted him over to the dark side, so
there you go. I was gonna say because I was like, well, maybe you'd have to debate who gets to have the baby's hockey fandom, but in this case, doesn't seem like there's gonna be any debate
I
with
gave my
that. Yes,
husband the football fandom. My husband's a Giants fan. I was like, "Alright, you want the pain and suffering to be a Giants fan, and then the kid will be a Bruins fan, so he'll get the best of both worlds."
yeah. You know, it's funny. I mentioned you mentioned earlier the middle name thing. I had a history teacher in high school who was a diehard Giants fan, and her daughter's middle name is Odell after Odell Beckham Jr. And I always kind of thought to myself, I don't know if I'd do that after like a football receiver who's been there for like 4 years at that
It's gotta
point.
be like a
But
sure thing, right? Like
yeah,
Patrice,
it's
Brad,
easy.
it's gotta be a sure thing.
Yeah, or like how many people name their kids or had their kid's middle name be like Bork or, or
Right.
something like that just 'cause it's a
Yeah.
sure thing. But anyways, there's real Bruins, there's big Bruins news to talk about, and it is getting to be that time of year. We'll get into the lineup a little bit later, but first, some rumors, some trade rumors. It's that time of year. Lawson
I love
Crouse
it.
is the
I love
next
this
name.
time of year.
It's that time of year. Get the
Feelings
hot
are in
stove
on
cooking.
everybody, Evan.
In on everybody, getting nobody. But anyways, Lawson Crouse is the newest name that is connected to the Bruins. He is with the Arizona Coyotes. 6'4", 220-pound power forward type player. Big dude. 24. Year left on an RFA deal. He'll be an RFA at the end of this year. And Sportsnet's Jeff Marek, can't even say the name, reported that the Bruins are one of the teams interested in Crouse. And it makes total sense that Crouse will be dealt before the end of this year, given the Coyote state and everything they're looking for. So it begs the question of this. Another power forward the Bruins are in on that's probably not in the top six, but more in the bottom six. Is this something the Bruins should be interested in?
I mean, it almost makes too much sense, right? Like big power forward, cheap deal. Like, of course, the Bruins are interested in on him. He's not the coyote that I would want. Like, I would like to shoot for the moon and grab Jacob Chitrin, but I don't think the Bruins have enough to grab him. But I don't hate it as much as I thought I would, right? I think cheap money, is the most important thing. He's probably gonna be more than a rental. He's an RFA at year's end, and Sweeney loves those guys, Sweeney's not crazy about the one and done, so it makes sense. I wonder what they'd give up to get him, and especially we don't know the status of Nick Foligno, but I'm also worried because it seems like we have a bunch of those, middle of the pack, bottom 6 guys, so it's like, how much do we really need? Especially since Oskar Steen's playing awesome right now. It kinda turns me off to spending some assets to get Lawson Crouse. With that being said, I think he'd be a welcome addition, and I think especially this Bruins team's trying to get into the playoffs, trying to gear up for the playoffs. It's gonna be a lot of games in a lot of days, so I actually don't hate it.
The only I think I didn't like it at first. I still don't love it because I just think back to Nick Ritchie. Nick Ritchie was good, but there was just they didn't get enough, it felt like, out of him for what
Right,
he could have brought. And I'm worried that this is gonna be the same thing. However, feels like, and we don't know this. We're recording this Monday morning at 11, so we don't know the status of Nick Foligno yet. But it feels like Nick Foligno is going to be out for an extended period of time. An easy spot for Kraus to just go straight in on would be the left side on the third line, right? Kraus,
right,
Coyle, and Steen. That's a pretty good third line. That makes me like it more because you're down Foligno. DeBrusque is getting traded at some point for what we don't know, but hopefully it's not another struggling winger because, as you said, Bruins have more than enough of those guys. No Mason Appletons here, but
but
I do
wouldn't
like
you
the idea.
rather use DeBrusque, his money and kind of get a better caliber player though? Like, wouldn't you try and shoot for the moon a little bit?
Oh, you mean like package DeBrusque for someone better? Is this what
Not
you mean?
even that, but just, like, say you move him out in, like, a money move, right? And then that allows you frees you up to, get maybe
Oh,
a better player
so
rather than a
DeBrusque
lot
for
of money.
like a so DeBrusque for like a fourth round pick.
I've
Would
always in my mind, I'm like, if Linus Ullmark ever waived his no move clause, package him and DeBrusque to Edmonton for, like, a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins or something, like, that's my pipe dream, right? Um, I don't know, but it's just fun to throw out hypotheticals.
It's fun. That's what's the best part of this time of year. But I don't know. I think with DeBrusque's contract and money and with him, I just would love to see them try to package him for something better because I don't
Yeah,
know if you can straight up you can't get someone better than DeBrusque for DeBrusque given that he's
right.
struggling. But
But that's
I don't I
why
like
Lawson Crouse is so enticing because he's making what, 1.6 or something? He's not
mhm.
making a ton of money and they could fit him in, so
Yeah, 9 goals, 8 assists in 32 games. So, I mean, that's pretty good production. He's been getting a lot of reps in Arizona because, like, who the hell else?
right.
I also, you know who else I wouldn't mind from Arizona? I know
Louis
people are gonna kind
Eriksson?
of wince. Oh, well, that Petrov Maguire would be all in on
That's the
that. That
only
would be
reason I
a,
said it.
I say, but I would say Phil Kessel. I wouldn't mind Phil Kessel.
Yeah.
I think you know what you're
What
getting
does
out
he
of him.
make
He
now?
has That's a great question. I don't know what he makes, but I just know that he's got Stanley Cup experience. He's an older player now. He's still good. I'm looking it up right now to see what he makes. It can't be that much. I mean, he did sign an 8-year, $64 million deal. Um, sometime soon. What's his money?
Phil the Thrill, that'd be awesome.
He is on the final year of an $8 million deal.
Oh,
So he's
wow.
making 8.
Good for
So
Phil.
I don't know about 8. Exactly. Great for him. I don't know about that though. I don't know about that being on the Bruins
I
stat.
just
I don't
I
think
just always go back to, like, if the Bruins had a real 2C, if this is Charlie Coyle, just imagine how good of a third line, like Steen, Coyle, and whoever, like, say Foligno's out, how good of a third line that would be, and then, like, that would help elevate the Bruins so much. So I always go back to, let's try and find a center.
Do you think Eric Hall is that guy?
He's looked better as of late, I'll definitely give him some credit, but, no, I don't think he is the solution going forward, no.
I agree. I think he is a stopgap. I like him a little bit more than Charlie Coyle, just the way he plays, a little
Yeah,
quicker on pucks, a little bit more like kind of. He's great in the net front on the first power play unit when Nick Foligno went down. But to me, I think you still need someone. You still need
right.
like a legit 2C. And this leads us into. I didn't have this on the docket initially, so I apologize for just bringing this up. But I assume you saw the David Krejci comments.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I saw those. Interesting. Gotta give Krejci credit. He was always very open. Like I remember
Yeah,
after they tried to go
it
for
shouldn't
Tavares.
surprise anybody that he said this.
No, and it's funny after that. It's so funny. Like right after he leaves, they immediately are like, "Oh, Pasta, you can get out on the second line if you want. It's up to you." But it's funny after when the Bruins went for John Tavares a few summers ago. Krejci was very outspoken when they came back in the fall, saying like he didn't really love the Bruins were doing that. He went on to have a really good year that year, and he was a huge part of why the Bruins ended up being in the Cup final that next summer. But Krejci basically comes out and is like, "Why? I don't get it. The coach never let me have Pasternak. How come Now immediately Pastrnak can go down to the second line, and I think it's tough because I hate to be a fence sitter, but I see both sides because when Krejci was here, Krejci was like the main guy of that line.
Right.
Now that second line is the
Taylor
main
Hall
guy was supposed to be
needs David
Taylor Hall.
Pastrnak, right. That's, like, the
Yes.
only difference about it. I think Krejci is well within his right to speak his mind. I think he maybe should be going at Sweeney a little more than Cassidy, um, because Cassidy's just trying to do, like, the best that he has with the guys that he has, and you cannot I mean, Pasternak, that line was just so dominant. It was hard to peel him off. When the Bruins were struggling, I would absolutely be like, you know what, move Pasternak down, give this team like some new life. But yeah, I'm not surprised Krejci made those remarks. I still hope he comes back. That would be unbelievable. Imagine David Krejci with his team right now, the way they're playing, would be nuts.
You'd have depth. You'd have a ton of
Yeah.
depth. Because you'd be able to, and I still think they have depth, but Krejci would just make it so much
Right.
better. So
Mhm.
much better. I don't think it goes
Another
without
year of
saying.
Krejci and Hall, I say it a million times, but I would have loved to see it. And you're starting to see Taylor Hall, really start to get going with Pasta now, which is great to see. And Pasta looks like he's got some more confidence, potted 2 against Tampa. Hopefully the floodgates open for him. So, yeah, I understand Krejci why he said it, and I mean, he's always been open, and I think he was well within his right to say it. But yeah, I think it's a different like Krejci elevated those around him, and right now, like the Bruins need help because you need to get Taylor Hall going, you need to get Pasta going, so
I mean, imagine a top six of Marchand, Bergeron, Smith, Hall,
oh,
Krejci, Pasternak. I mean, that
yeah.
would be absurd. And then you have Coyle on the third line with Steen and whoever. I mean, just I don't know. And we're making Bruins fans really, really annoyed right now. It's like, man, what could have been? What could have
Yeah,
been? But yes, the interesting comments out of Krejci came out of nowhere, but I totally see what he's saying. Like him
right.
and Pastrnak had the Czech connection, and they never really got the chance to play together
Mhm.
for extended periods of time. Let's dive into the lineup of the Bruins, which has looked a lot better of late. And it goes back. Now we are recording this again before the Capitals game Monday night. So excuse us if Boston got shellacked 7-0 or won 7-0 or whatever. We don't know the result. It's that
Hey,
time of year.
sometimes when you get dummied by the Capitals, the Sweeney goes out and gets you a Taylor Hall and the curses are, so
It's true.
there's
Remember,
three
getting dummied by the Capitals is always a good sign because it happened last year. They went out and got Curtis Lazar and Taylor Hall. Remember the first game of 2018-19? They got killed in Washington by the Capitals. First game of the year.
Oh,
They
yeah,
go to the
first
Stanley
game
Cup
of the
that
year.
year. They go to the Stanley Cup that year. So
That's
hey,
some decent rite
maybe
of passage.
spin zone. Anyways, this win in Tampa felt different. They win 5-2. They do without Charlie McAvoy. They go into Tampa and do it. I almost get the sense that whenever there's a team that goes far in the playoffs or goes the distance or goes to the championship or wins it, whatever, you always can look back at usually an away game during the year, even sometimes a home game, where things click and things just the whole team plays well, something changes. And it felt like that game at Tampa had those vibes. Do you feel the same way?
Oh, yeah, especially you said it without Charlie McAvoy too. That in itself was impressive, especially because you saw them struggle without McAvoy against Minnesota, and then for them to play a complete 60-minute effort against, like, the reigning Stanley Cup champions was a sight for sore eyes, to say the least. But yeah, it was a little stunning to me. The Bruins have played really well, like, this new calendar year. It's almost like Jekyll and Hyde. It's like what like they just flipped the switch or something. It's almost as if playing more games and like all these games that they're playing it's every other night it's like helping them, oddly enough. So yeah, it was really, really impressive, especially without McAvoy in it. Like I said, full 60 minutes right from the start. Like it felt like a playoff, like it was like their playoff game for so to speak. Like they were with it right from puck drop. So it was super impressive. And like I said earlier, great to see Pasternak start to get going. Um, Looks like he gained some confidence that game. I don't think he was getting the bounces before, but he seemed to be getting the bounces in Tampa, and so hopefully the floodgates just open for him. That would be great.
Yeah, it feels like he's on the verge of scoring like a billion goals. Like
Yeah,
just and also I think the way that he's scoring, right? The
right,
effort, the creating his own chances is good. It's not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's not just like one timers on the power play
right.
that are going in. He's doing it on his own. So That is a very good sign. And I think Marchand turned it up. Like, it's funny.
Yeah.
I was watching my work laptop for NCAA is based in Atlanta. So the laptop is up here in Boston, but it is based in Atlanta, which is really fun because I can watch Bruins games on like my work monitor and stuff because it's not blacked out. It thinks I'm in
Podcasts
Atlanta,
are
which
so
is
stupid. The fact that they still exist in 2022 is nuts.
it's crazy. I don't understand it at all. And the weirdest stuff gets blacked out for like Atlanta. Like if
Right.
the Bruins were like in New York or New Jersey, I can't watch the game, which is hilarious.
Yeah, I'm in New
But
York City, and if the Bruins are in Buffalo, it's, like, impossible to watch.
that's incredible. See, that's so stupid. But
Like,
anyways, I was watching the Tampa broadcast, which was cool to see. It's not cool to see
I
other
was
teams
actually,
broadcast.
watching the Tampa broadcast as well on ESPN.
Yes, so there we go. We're both watching it, and they were really praising Brad Marchand,
Mhm.
and he was another one who had an amazing game on Saturday night. So it just felt like things were working in their favor. They were playing well, and I think it just comes down to and it's funny. I mean, I said the same things after that Western Canada trip, but at the same time, like COVID also was a huge factor after that. So it's hard to like take the Vegas game seriously and
Right.
take some of the games after seriously. Feels like we can kind of say, okay, if they play well against Washington Monday night, if they did, and they play well, they have a huge homestand coming up. I think it's like a 7 game homestand. They can
Well,
start to play well.
they might see Tuukka
This
Rask now homestand also.
maybe he didn't get to play in Providence this past weekend, so they might be at the
Something to
big
think
big
about.
time level. But if they can play well coming up now, it's a uh, season changing type moment in the season for the Bruins. And I think another changing moment has been the addition of Oskar Steen to their third line.
He
Guys,
rules.
buzzing.
He's awesome. It's nice to see a Bruins prospect pan out. Like, it's been a while, right? Since we've seen, a true prospect, come up and be effective. And so he's awesome. He's been great. Um, so that in itself is exciting. I wanted to touch on Martian a little bit. It seems like ever since he came back from COVID, that COVID absence, he's just had like a bee under his bonnet. He's been angry. He was chirping at Pat Maroon, which is funny. Um, and he kind of the Bruins kind of go as far as he goes, right? Like, Martian's playing well. It seems to elevate everybody else. Like, everyone wants to be on his level. He's the hardest worker in practice. So yeah, it's so funny to me, like, the Jekyll and Hyde of this team, because back in October, November, you were just like, "What is this team? Like, are we even gonna make the playoffs? Like, what's going on?" So, now you're starting to see those games in hand and them actually picking up points in those games in hand. We've talked about, there's a million games in hand that they have, but it doesn't matter unless you put the points up, and right now they're on a great little run here, so hopefully Washington's a great team, so I think that'll be a good measuring stick for them. I like how the Bruins came back against the Oilers. I think Washington is a quick strike team, kind of like them a little bit. They're a little heavier, but I'm interested to see how they respond after a really solid 60-minute game in Tampa, and if they can bring it to Washington, and hopefully they'll get McAvoy back as well.
Yeah, so I think those are the big things. But you're right on Marchand. Like I think that's been the kind of the heartbeat for the Bruins the past bunch of years has been like however far Marchand goes, the Bruins go. And you're seeing it, right? I mean, even with in Craig Smith adds such an interesting element to that line because obviously he doesn't bring the skill and the snipes of Pasternak and all that stuff and the finesse, but the hard work and the second efforts
Lunch
and
pail.
yeah, lunch pail, blue collar type, keeping the puck in the zone
Right.
type player has been huge. So I think that adds another element to that line that I think is very good. So, but Oskar Steen is a fun one because 5 points in 7 games this year. Hard to sit here and say he's officially made it, right? Like, oh, he's
No,
good. They're out of the
but
water
he's
with this one. But at
deserved
the
his
same time,
chance. He's deserved his
100%.
chance, is what I would say.
He is more, yeah, more than deserved his chance. But he fits really well with Coyle because he brings that speed. He's got some skill. You can just, I don't know if it's me, but just by the eye test, you can look at him and go, that's an NHLer. That's a guy who is going to produce. And it feels like that's the case with Steen. Um, I'm curious because we like Coyle with Steen. Who is your ideal fit on that left side? Is it now Foligno's probably done for a while, but is it DeBrusque? Would it be Frederick? Interested to hear your thoughts on that.
I think it's gonna be DeBrusk for a little while until they unload him, right? Like, it only makes sense. I think Frederick works best in the middle. I think he has been putting up some goals lately, shockingly. Um, so I don't know
And he
that 4th.
messed up Kulikov.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was unbelievable. But, that 4th line has actually been pretty unbelievable with Nosek before he was in COVID protocol. So, I think you do go with DeBrusk until you find until you trade him, and then A, or then B, if Foligno comes back. I don't know when Foligno would come back, it'd be a miracle. That looked to me like an ACL or a high ankle sprain, like, it did not look good. So,
No.
yeah, I think DeBrusk, his speed would work well with them. Um but yeah, Steen and Coyle as a pair has looked really, really good, and that's, like, why I'm just like, "We need a 2C," because then just slide everyone down, it'd be great. So, yeah, I think you start with DeBrusk and then you kinda just fill in as you go and whenever you unload them.
To me, I think you're 100% right on DeBrusk. I think right now the bottom six should be DeBrusk, Coyle, Steen, Bleed, Nosek, Lazar. I like Nosek in it a little more than Frederick, and I think he brings a little bit more. Um, I wouldn't hate if the Bruins could find a way to deal Frederick if it can help your trade value, right? Like if you can get a little bit more, it feels like you have a lot down there in the bottom six, a lot of candidates. Now, obviously, you need depth. Guys get injured. But I don't know. I just feel like you can use the whole Fredericks from first round pick. He's not really getting his chance here. Maybe if he goes to said place, Arizona or somewhere else, maybe he gets more of a look. He can develop a little bit more. I think we all kind of agree he probably shouldn't have been a first round pick at the time,
I
but
mean,
nonetheless, he is. So
sweetie.
yeah, exactly. So I do think that DeBrusque, Coilstein, Bleed, Nosek, Lazar would be the perfect kind of bottom six. But again, when DeBrusque goes, I think if they did get Kraus or they did somehow, I don't know why Arizona would want DeBrusque because it's the same situation as Kraus and he makes more. But if you can, if Kraus went in for DeBrusque, that could also work too. So I don't know. Their bottom six is not bad on paper. Like their lineup on up front is not bad on paper. It's actually pretty good. The problem is the production hasn't been there. However, it feels like the production's starting to come
Right.
because I'm interested. Do you think that over these I mentioned earlier, these next bunch of games, these next 2 weeks could be huge. Do you think that if they crush these next 2 weeks, I don't know what that is, 4, 5 wins or so. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but if it's a bunch of wins, do you then say, "I'm good with going completely all in, trade whomever, whether it be Lysell or future first round picks?" What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's the last time for them to do it. Like, you don't know what's gonna go on with Patrice Bergeron at the end of the year. You don't know if he's coming back, which is scary to say. I hope he does. And I think Neely said in the summer that like they owe it to Marchand and Bergeron to kind of do whatever they can to help. Last kick at the can. I truly do feel like this is the last year you can kind of go all in. But that it does worry me, like I said, this Jekyll and Hyde with them, where if you do go all in and then you're a first round exit, what assets do you really have to start to rebuild? Because they don't have much. So that definitely worries me. I think Sweeney needs to be really smart. But I think if they are in a position, say they're nipping at, Tampa's heels or whoever in the Atlantic's heels, I think it's worth it to upgrade. And Sweeney likes to upgrade. That's not a rental, right? So like if you can upgrade and get a guy for a couple more years that will help, then I'm all for that. I don't really want to deal Lysell. I don't really want to deal whoever's left with our top prospects. So it's gonna be tough for Sweeney because he's gonna get outbid by a lot of teams, so it'll be interesting. I think it starts with DeBrusk, and then you kind of figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think the tradable assets are DeBrusque, Stadnika, maybe a
Yeah,
future first round pick if it's for someone like Tomas Hurdle. Um, but
he is my
outside of that,
yes.
he's your
Hurdle
top guy.
Hurdle would look so good in black and gold. Him and Pasta are just they just having so much fun together.
Yeah, I mean that's a legit 2C, and
Yep,
most likely he's re-signing for probably
yep.
getting a next big time deal. So he's your 1C maybe of the future actually, because after Bergeron, who? So, yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting stretch, maybe the most interesting stretch of the year upcoming. I'm
Yeah.
going to say it, most interesting stretch of the year upcoming for the Boston Bruins. But, anyways, Marina, thank you so much for joining. Marina, what can people look forward to over at Barstool with you?
You can follow my blogs, barstoolsports.com, and search my name or Bruins or whatever. Or you can check me out on Twitter at Marina K. Maher. And then I always tweet out, my blogs and whatnot on there. So thanks for having me on.
Of course, Marina. We love having you on. But, anyways, for CLNS Media, I'm Evan Marinofsky, you Bruins Beat listeners. Have a great rest of your week.